you swear the testimony you will give before this committee will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Please be seated.
Documents released today by WikiLeaks make more clear than ever just how much is at stake in this election. So much corruption. This election will determine whether we remain a free country in the truest sense of the word, or we become a corrupt banana republic controlled by large donors and foreign governments. Should have had an election. They didn't have an election. That system is set up so that the crooked politicians can make sure they get somebody in that's not, part of what we're doing. This is a movement, folks. I'm self-funding my campaign.
These are the 5 boroughs: Staten Island results, Manhattan results, Bronx, Brooklyn, Queens. All of these votes are placed in a black box. This black box is unaccountable, untestable, privately run software from the 2 companies that you have hired to count our votes. So when votes come out of this black box, they do not reflect the New York City or the national votes.
In front of this committee, Jay, you had brought up support for state governments on election tampering. Could you give me an idea on how prevalent this is by foreign governments?
We are seeing a limited number of instances where there have been efforts through cyber intrusions to get into the online presence of various state election agencies. And 1 or 2 of them have been successful, others have not.
Transparent process. This software is stealing votes. I have 30 seconds. All I can say is this country can't survive much more of your kind of democracy.
Committee on Oversight and Government Reform will come to order, and without objection, the chair is authorized to declare a recess at any time. A very important hearing today. As you know, the committee has jurisdiction. They have jurisdiction on federal records. They have jurisdiction on the Freedom of Information Act. They have jurisdiction on the National Archives. It's a very important part of our process. We're unique in our nation. We are open. We are transparent. We do provide access to the American people for what they paid for. As you also know, Secretary Clinton that rather than giving individual statements, that Ambassador Kennedy will give one statement. We're very generous with our time here, Ambassador, so please feel free. The time is yours.
Thank you very much. Chairman Chaffetz, Ranking Member Cummings, committee members, good morning. Thank you for your invitation and your interest in FOIA. I appreciate the opportunity to discuss the State Department's ongoing efforts to improve our FOIA process. I am joined today by my colleagues, Ambassador Janice Jacobs, Director Karen Lang, and Deputy Director Clarence Finney. Ambassador Jacobs returned to the State Department in 2015 to serve as the Secretary's Transparency Coordinator. Karen Lang is the Director of the Executive Secretariat Staff, and among many responsibilities, she is responsible for coordinating the Executive Secretariat's response to FOIA requests, and Clarence Finney is one of Ms. Lang's deputies, particularly responsible for FOIA matters. The State Department is committed to openness and to encouraging public interest in U.S. foreign policy. 2 important efforts underscore our commitment to openness. First, our efforts to preserve a complete record of U.S. foreign policy under the Federal Records Act, and secondly, our efforts to ensure that the American public can gain access to that record using the Freedom of Information Act. It is clear to the committee, to us, and to anyone reading the news that the State Department struggles with the volume of FOIA material. Since fiscal year 2008, our new FOIA requests have risen 300%, from 6,000 to over 24,000 requests per year. We face a FOIA backlog approximately of 30,000 requests, 17 direct requests to the State Department, and about 13,000 referrals from other agencies to the State Department that need our response or contribution as well. I want to make clear that this backlog is not acceptable, and we are working to reduce it. The rate of incoming cases is increasing, and many of these cases are increasingly complex. It is our experience that requesters come first to the State Department to request information on any and all national security issues. These requests are often a mixture of complex subject matters, including terrorism, armed conflict, foreign government relations, security, and diplomacy. These complex requests require multiple searches throughout the State Department and throughout often any of our 275 embassies, missions, and consulates around the globe, often involving the review of highly classified or highly sensitive material, as well as in-depth coordination with other federal agencies. The most common complaint we receive from the public is delays in receiving timely responses. Our goal is to do everything we can to complete each request as quickly as possible, with as much responsive information as we can, and our FOIA staff works diligently to make this happen. To address these challenges, the Department has undertaken a number of steps recently to improve records management, including our response to FOIA requests. We are working closely with the National Archives and Records Administration. Secretary Kerry has focused attention on FOIA and asked the Inspector General to review these issues, and we have directed more resources towards FOIA processing. Working with NARA, we have ensured that we are capturing records appropriately. In 2014, the State Department adopted the NARA-approved capstone approach to preserving emails, which captures all senior emails, and we started that in 2015. This program has been expanded to over 688 senior State Department officials, including Secretary Kerry, and we will deploy a tool to search these captured materials by the end of this calendar year. The increased use of email, however, strains our decades-old records management systems, but we are on schedule with the additional resources we have deployed and through the assistance of all the work Ambassador Jacobs has done to meet NARA's December 2016 deadline to be able to manage our email records electronically. Efforts by Secretary Kerry. Earlier this year, the Secretary sent a department-wide notice reminding employees about their FOIA responsibilities and the need for transparency. We are training in enhanced ways our employees on records preservation. In order to focus a dedicated high-level review on these issues, last September, the Secretary appointed Ambassador Janice Jacobs, as I have mentioned, as our transparency coordinator. She is focused solely on records management improvements, including FOIA processing, by moving from a 20th century paper-based system to a modern electronic system. Ambassador Jacobs can, in response to any of your questions, describe her efforts to identify procedural, bureaucratic, and technological solutions. The Inspector General's review. Last year, Secretary Kerry asked the State Department's Inspector General to explore those issues. The State Department IG has issued 4 reports with recommendations for improved records management, including FOIA. And all of the OIG's recommendations are resolved, and we have implemented the majority of them. The others are still in process because of time and resource constraints. In January 2016, the OIG found weaknesses in the FOIA processing by the Executive Secretariat, which the Executive Secretariat has acknowledged. Improvements have been made so far, including establishing written procedures for FOIA searches, including emails, increased training, better oversight by senior staff, and the establishment of metrics. The Inspector General's May 2016 report concerned the email practices of 5 Secretaries of State and shortcomings in how emails were preserved in the past. It is clear that the Department should have done a better job in preserving emails of Secretaries of State and their senior staff going back several administrations. The Department is much better situated today than during the historical periods reviewed by the OIG. By early 2015, we have already taken a number of important steps. For instance, as noted, NARA and the IG both agree that past preservation problems of Secretary Clinton and her immediate staff were mitigated by the production of emails to the department. We then worked diligently from May 2015 to February 2016 to release more than 52,000 pages of former Secretary Clinton's emails. These emails are now a part of the department's permanent records and are available on our FOIA website for the public to see. We recently received additional Clinton emails from the Federal Bureau of Investigation, which we have begun processing. And as noted, State is automatically archiving Secretary Kerry's emails through the NARA-approved Capstone program, along with 687 other senior officials. Increased resources for the FOIA office. The department has reallocated and reprogrammed from $18 million in 2014 to $26.2 million in 2015 and $32.5 million this year. Over the past year, the FOIA office has added 25 additional full-time positions and converted another 25 positions from part-time to full-time. This comes at a time when the department's operational funding has increased 25% in constant dollar terms over the last 5 years. We're taking it out of Hyde. While we have had a dedicated FOIA requester service team to answer questions about specific status requests, a new FOIA public liaison officer joined the State Department in May to enhance our ability to be responsive to the American public. Have these steps made a difference? Yes, we are beginning to see results. In fiscal 2014, we achieved a 23% reduction in our appeals backlog by streamlining our case processing. In fiscal year 2015, the department closed 9 of our 10 of its oldest FOIA requests. Later this year, we plan to start posting nearly all of the documents released through FOIA, no matter who the requester was, on our public website. This will result in more material on broader ranges of topics, potentially reducing the need for anyone to file a new request for information that has in fact already been reviewed. The department is committed to finding more ways to streamline the FOIA process and to reduce our backlog. We look forward to exploring this issue with you today. Mr. Chairman, that concludes my statement. I have a written statement that I would ask to be included in the record.
Absolutely.
And I and my colleagues are open to your and the committee's questions. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Now recognize myself. Let me address the Secretary Powell issue. Here's some important differences. First of all, the Inspector General, who we rely on heavily, was able to go back and speak with the former Secretaries of State, except Hillary Clinton, who refused to be engaged with the Inspector General. In Secretary Clinton's case, this is the only case that I'm aware of where there has been an accusation of a destruction of documents that were under subpoena. Mr. Comey, the FBI director, came and testified before this committee that they didn't look at any of the comments that Secretary Clinton gave under oath. And I would also point back to the January letter of this year where we asked the State Department to look back 15 years, not just picking on one, but 15 years, which is a long, I think, exceptionally long time, but looking back, and certainly emails have changed. And finally, I would just suggest that I think there are legitimate concerns about retroactive classifications, over-redactions, those types of things. And I'm pleased to report to the committee, because I think Mr. Cummings has some legitimate concerns, that we're going to get a chance to question those people on Monday. That's why we're doing the hearing. It is an embarrassment that the unclassified documents that are residing in the SCIF, unclassified, are only able to be reviewed by members of this committee, the Appropriations and Judicial Committee. If you reside in another committee and are a member of Congress, you are prohibited by this administration from looking at unclassified documents. I don't know how to explain that, and I think it's absolutely wrong. Mr. Finney, you are on the front lines. I know the management team at the State Department didn't want you to be here because we had to issue a subpoena to be here, and I don't take that as you in your personal capacity making that decision. But nevertheless, we're glad that you're here. You have been in this position since 2006. You didn't ask for this. I'm very sympathetic to the idea. You haven't testified before Congress. All I ask you to do is just be truthful. Tell us the way you saw it, what happened, and we will do everything we can to make sure that you get your story and your version of what happened out there. When did you first know that there was a problem? Let's go ahead and move this microphone up close, and there you go.
First of all, sir, I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to come forward. I've always wanted to speak the truth. At this particular situation in the comfort zone in this area is different.
Sure. So go ahead. When did you first know there was a problem?
I noticed a problem as far as with records.
Yes, with Secretary Clinton. Yes, in her records.
The first time I noticed a problem, when you look at that, is basically when we noted that we had received some documents. There was initially a letter that went out, and once we had started receiving documents from Secretary Clinton, that's when we realized.
When was that?
I couldn't tell you the specific date.
Yeah, I mean, I don't expect you to get the exact day of the week, but roughly when was that?
I couldn't tell you the exact time. I just know that when we had actually started receiving the actual documents.
Was that after she had left?
Yes, sir.
Did you raise any?
Hello and welcome. My name is Samuel E. Zerzer from the Samuel E. Zerzer channel. This is another documentary, but this is coming through the FBI. It seems like somebody there did a tremendous favor, said to hell with it, and put up these emails. But just like it's incredible how much information is just out there. And people will still vote for this person. I just don't understand it. But anyways, let's just move on over here. I just want to show what these Clinton emails. And basically, you know, the headline is quid pro quo, which really means bribe or if you do something for me, I would do something for you, you know. This all has to do with the Benghazi, what happened in Libya, Benghazi. Basically, a State Department official, Patrick Kennedy, an Undersecretary of State, try to make a deal with the FBI that would change the classification from classified to unclassified, so they can destroy it. Basically, that's the bottom line, if you really want to know. And basically, they just wanted to downgrade it. Here, FBI downgrade, you know, to a lower category. In exchange, the FBI agent said, Mr. Kennedy offered to accept an FBI request for extra agents at a foreign diplomatic post. Both the FBI and the State Department deny any deal was offered or struck. The State Department spokesman, Mark Toner, said there was no deal, no this, no that. Well, I guess Mr. Comey, take a look at this. On July 10th, 2015, the FBI initiated a full investigation based upon the referral received from the U.S. Intelligence Community Inspector General, submitted in accordance with section of the Intelligence Authorization of the Act of 1995 and dated July 6, 2015, regarding the potential unauthorized transmission and storage of classified information on the personal email server of former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. The FBI investigation focused on determining whether the classified information was transmitted or stored and classified. Wow. Just a lot. And now this is one of the files that wanted Patrick Kennedy, the Undersecretary of State, wanted to downgrade from classified to unclassified, again, to destroy it. This is... here we go. This is what he wanted. This is a State Department signed classified. State Department produced the House Select. This is Benghazi. This is from Sullivan, Jacob to H. Obviously, it's Hillary. Preliminary, but very interesting. Please see below. The FBI in Tripoli is fully involved. The FBI is involved. I didn't know that. In Benghazi. Post reports that Libyan police had arrested several people today who may have some connection to the Benghazi attack. They were acting on information furnished by the RSRO. Well, this is the one of the documents that I'm sure they wanted destroyed. So take a look at it. I'll have it, one of the links. But anyways, they're denying everything, obviously. This is probably the smoking gun that the Republicans or Donald Trump is looking for, that there was a connection between, obviously, Hillary and, the State Department and the Department of Justice, obviously, DOJ. So there's obviously collusion there. A lot of talking. There are a lot of people out there who want to know the truth, what really was going on. And again, just so much info. I just don't know where to start sometimes. But here we go. Here is the one of the emails here, okay, that I just had to download. Anyways, take a look. Okay, I just don't have any more words to say anymore. I just don't have any more. I just don't know what CNN, NBC, and all of them will have to say. These are documents that were released by the FBI containing accusation that Pat Kennedy, told you, Undersecretary of State for Management, tried, in late what was it, June, July? Of last year to get the FBI to change a classified email to unclassified in exchange for State Department allowing the FBI to place more agents in countries where they're presently forbidden. Wow. I just want to know what CNN will going to report with this, and CNBC. I'm sure they're trying to bury this for sure. But the FBI was pressured to downgrade it so they can destroy it. And now there's a lot of accusation going on, and I'm sure whichever FBI agent did this all a favor. I don't know. He might be fired. Who knows? Or God knows, him maybe shot or let go. But they're all there at the FBI website. So again, my name is Samuel Zerzer. Please subscribe. Like I said, this is the war is on. We're all out there trying to get the word out. Just some people just don't get it. I just don't know what more. I don't know what more information we have to send out there. Anyways, God bless. Take care, and long live the Republic.
In July, there have been several very material issues that are troubling, and would thus not require a reopening of the investigation to solve those issues?
I haven't seen anything that would come near to that kind of situation.
Oh.
I know there's lots of questions, lots of controversy. I'm very proud of the way this was done.
Well, come on now, with all, due respect. Since you made this announcement, there have been many more issues that came out that were not on the table prior to your announcement that the investigation against Secretary Clinton had been dropped. And I think the American public is entitled to answers on this, particularly since we have to know, the extent of the classified information which ended up being in the private email server. All of us on this committee have got security clearances of some kind or another, and I'm kind of worried that, if I got some classified information and went back to my office and used an unsecured server to send it to somebody who may also have had a classified information, I would be in big trouble, and I should be in big trouble if I did something like that. There seems to be different strokes for different folks on this, and that's what Americans are concerned about, particularly when we're looking to elect someone to the highest office of the land and the leader of the free world. I don't think your answers are satisfactory at all, Mr. Comey. I do have a great deal of respect for you, but I think that there's a heavy hand coming from someplace else, and with that, I yield back.
Chair, thanks, gentleman. Recognize the gentleman from New York, Mr. Nadler, for 5 minutes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, let me express my admiration and thanks to the FBI for the professional manner and excellent work they did in the bombings that occurred in New York about a block out of my district to apprehend the suspect within, 48 hours and do everything was a very good indication of teamwork and of professionalism, and I congratulate you on that. Secondly, let me say that I think that the mud that is being thrown from the other side of this table here continually only because of the ongoing presidential election, in the case in which the FBI decided there was nothing to prosecute, it's over. And we all know nobody would be even talking about it if if Hillary Clinton weren't a presidential candidate. This is pure political maneuvering. But let me talk about a case that may pose a current national security threat to the United States, and ask you a few questions about that. In his earlier remarks, Mr. Conyers referenced an August 30th letter from the ranking members of a number of House committees. That letter asked whether the FBI was investigating troubling connections between Trump campaign officials and Russian interests, and whether they contributed to the illegal hacking of the Democratic National Committee and the Democratic National Campaign Committee. You're familiar with that letter, I take it?
Yes, I'm familiar with the letter.
I'd like to ask you a few questions. The letter said this, and I quote, on August 8th, 2016, Roger Stone, a Donald Trump confidant, revealed that he has communicated with WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange about the upcoming release of additional illegally hacked Democratic documents. Mr. Stone made these statements during a Republican campaign event while answering a question about a potential October surprise. Obviously, if someone is stating publicly that he is in direct communication with the organization that obtained these illegally hacked documents, I assume the FBI would want to talk to that person. Has the FBI interviewed Roger Stone about his communications with Julian Assange or his knowledge of how WikiLeaks got these illegally obtained documents?
I can't comment on that.
Mr. Stone stated that he has knowledge about upcoming leaks of additional illegally hacked documents. Has the FBI asked him about those communications?
I also can't comment on that.
Because it's an ongoing investigation?
I don't want to confirm whether there is or is not an investigation. That's the way I answered Mr. Conyers' questions as well.
Director Comey, the FBI acknowledged in public statements and testimony that it was investigating Secretary Clinton's use of a private email server, and that was while the investigation was still ongoing. Now you can't comment on whether there's an investigation. Is there a different standard for Secretary Clinton and Donald Trump? If not, what is the consistent standard?
No, our standard is we do not confirm or deny the existence of investigations. There's an exception for that when there is a need for the public to be reassured, when it's obvious, it's apparent given our activities, public activities, that the investigation is ongoing. But our overwhelming rule is we do not comment except in certain exceptional circumstances.
Aren't there exceptional circumstances when close officials to a candidate of a major political party for the United States says publicly that he's in communication with foreign officials and anticipates further illegal activity?
I don't think so.